Have you ever felt excited to tell everyone about a big plan of yours? A plan that made your heart race and made you believe your life was about to change. And then, strangely, after talking about it too much, the fire inside you slowly faded. What once felt powerful began to feel distant. Some dreams do not die because they are too hard. They die because they are spoken of too soon. Long ago, in a small village, there lived a young man named Daniel. He was not lazy. In fact, he was full of ideas. One week, he wanted to open a bakery. The next, he dreamed of becoming a blacksmith. Soon after that, he wanted to build a house with his own hands. Daniel always had a new dream, a new plan, a new future in mind. But he had one habit that quietly ruined everything. Every time he had a new idea, he immediately told everyone about it. He walked through the market, stopped by the tea stall, and spoke about his plans with excitement and pride. He would say, "I am going to open the biggest bakery in this village," or, "I will become the finest craftsman around." The villagers smiled, praised him, and encouraged him. They told him he had great ambition, and each time they did, Daniel felt wonderful. He felt important. He felt as if he had already moved closer to success, even though he had not yet done any real work. But the next morning, when it was time to begin, his energy was gone. The excitement had faded. He would delay for a day, then another, and soon the dream would disappear completely. Then a new idea would come, and the cycle would begin again. Years passed like this. Daniel made many promises, but finished nothing. He talked about opening a bakery, but never learned how to bake. He talked about becoming a blacksmith, but never worked long enough for his hands to grow strong. He talked about building a house, but the wood behind his home remained untouched. His words traveled far, but his life stayed in the same place. At first, he told himself he was just waiting for the right time. A little more money, a little more inspiration, a little less stress. But deep inside, he knew the truth. He looked around and saw others quietly building real lives. Some opened small shops. Some learned useful trades. Some built simple homes for their families. They did not talk as much as Daniel, but their lives kept moving forward. One autumn evening, Daniel sat alone near the village well, feeling heavy and ashamed. An old man named Elias came and sat beside him. He was quiet, humble, and deeply respected by everyone in the village. After a while, Elias gently asked, "Why do you look so troubled?" Daniel sighed. "I have so many dreams, but I never finish anything. I always lose my motivation. I don't know what is wrong with me." Elias looked at him calmly and asked, "Whenever you get a new idea, what is the first thing you do?" Daniel answered, "I tell everyone. I want them to know what I'm going to do. I want them to be proud of me." Elias nodded. "Come to my garden tomorrow morning. I want to show you something." The next morning, Daniel arrived at Elias's small garden. The old man was holding 2 seeds. He gave one to Daniel and said, "Plant this in the soil." Daniel dug a small hole, placed the seed inside, and covered it with earth. Then Elias held up the second seed and called to some nearby children. "Look," he said, "this seed will one day become a beautiful tree. It will grow tall and strong, and everyone will admire it." The children smiled and clapped. Then Elias placed that seed on a rock in the sunlight and walked away. Over the next days, Daniel returned often. Each day, Elias quietly watered the buried seed. He said nothing about it. He did not show it to anyone. He simply cared for it in silence. The seed on the rock, however, did not grow. The sun dried it out. The wind moved it. Birds pecked at it. Soon it cracked, withered, and disappeared. Meanwhile, the hidden seed began to change. A tiny green sprout rose from the soil. Day by day, it became stronger. Week by week, it grew taller. When the young plant stood firmly above the ground, Elias turned to Daniel and said, "Do you see? A seed needs darkness and protection in order to grow. It does not grow because of applause. It grows because it is quietly nourished. If you leave it in the open and talk about what it will become, it dries out and dies." Daniel stared at the small plant. Something shifted inside him. Elias continued, "Your dreams are like seeds. In the beginning, they are fragile. They need silence, effort, and time. But every time you talk about them too early, you waste the energy meant for action. When people praise you, part of your mind feels as though the work is already done. You taste success too early, so you lose the hunger to keep going." Daniel felt the truth of those words immediately. That was exactly what had been happening to him for years. Every time people admired his plans, he felt rewarded before he had earned anything. The praise was enough to make him stop. Elias placed a hand on his shoulder. "You do not fail because you lack ability. You fail because you spend your strength on words instead of work. You trade action for recognition. You trade the future for a moment of admiration. But admiration builds nothing." That evening, Daniel walked home in silence. For the first time, he understood that he did not lack dreams. He lacked the silence needed to protect them. That night, he made a decision. He would try again, but differently. No announcements, no grand speeches, no audience. He chose one small goal: to make a simple wooden chair. The next day, after finishing his usual work, he went to a quiet corner behind his house and began. His hands were clumsy. His cuts were uneven. Some nails bent the wrong way. Some days he felt frustrated and wanted to quit. But this time, no one knew. No one praised him. No one asked questions. And strangely, that made everything easier. He no longer felt pressure to prove anything. He only had to come back each day and do what he could. When he made mistakes, he fixed them. When something failed, he started again. For the first time in his life, he learned what it meant to move forward quietly, one step at a time. Days turned into weeks. Slowly, the chair took shape. It was not perfect, but it was real, solid, finished. It was the first thing Daniel had ever truly completed with his own hands. When it was done, he sat on it one quiet afternoon. What he felt then was different from the empty pride of being praised. This feeling was deep and steady. It was real pride, born from real work. A few days later, a neighbor saw the chair and asked, "When did you make this? It's beautiful." Daniel smiled and said, "Little by little." The neighbor looked surprised. "You never told anyone." Daniel replied softly, "I wanted to finish it first." Word spread through the village, but this time people were not admiring a promise. They were admiring a result, and by then, Daniel no longer needed their praise the way he once had. The greatest reward had already come from within. After the chair, he made a table, then a shelf, then a bench. He kept working in silence. Year by year, his skill improved. Eventually, Daniel became known as a fine craftsman, not because he spoke about what he would do, but because people could see what he had done. The villagers no longer saw him as a man full of ideas. They saw him as a man who followed through. Their respect came not from his words, but from his work. One day, Daniel realized that what had changed his life was not luck, praise, or talent. It was learning to protect his dreams while they were still small. It was learning to let action come before words. And there are many people today who live the way Daniel once did. They want to change. They want to write a book, start a business, lose weight, save money, heal, build discipline, or learn a new skill. But the moment the idea appears, they rush to share it. They post it online. They tell their friends. They seek attention before effort. Then, after receiving encouragement and praise, they feel as though they have already made progress. But they have only talked about the road. They have not walked it. That is why so many dreams die in the beginning, not because they are impossible, but because they are exposed too early. Like a small flame in strong wind, like a seed left on a rock instead of buried in the earth. The most valuable thing at the start of any journey is not attention. It is focus, not praise. It is energy. Some things grow better in silence. Silence is not weakness. Sometimes silence is protection. It is how you keep your dream safe while it is still fragile. It is how you save your strength for doing instead of explaining. When a tree has grown tall, no one needs to announce it. People will see its shade. In the same way, when your work is real, it will speak for you. So if you are carrying a dream in your heart today, do not rush to tell the world. Write down the first step, then quietly take it. Tomorrow, take another. Let discipline water the seed. Let silence protect it. Let effort feed it, because in the end, the world does not need to hear what you plan to build. It only needs to see what you built. The next time you feel the urge to tell everyone about your big idea, pause for a moment. Ask yourself whether you want the result or just the feeling of being recognized. Then choose silence if needed. Choose to start small. Choose to keep going. Some of the most beautiful things in life grow quietly. And sometimes, the moment you stop talking and start doing is the moment your life truly begins to change.